presenting our sponsor, the incredible No Solo brand. Newport founded by John and Sarah Torresenta. Discover No Solo's well-crafted hats, stylish tees, and cozy sweatshirts at their website, nosolobrand.com. That's NOSOLOBRAND.com. We love supporting locally owned businesses here at Totally Preventable, especially those that give back to our community in the way that No Solo does. No Solo proudly supports mental health awareness with a percentage of your purchase going to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So join the cause, embrace comfort and style, and support a fantastic local business when you buy from No Solo. Visit No Solo's online store at nosolobrand.com. Hey, Polly.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
Who's on the pod today?
So today we have some local celebrities. And by local celebrities, I mean some of our coworkers.
Oh, is that where they all are?
That's where they all are. So today we're actually going to be talking to our two of our newest coalition coordinators. We have Amy Lynch from Newport, and we have Brian Goff from Tiverton Little Compton. Yeah, so they're going to be
quiz them a little bit, see how much they've learned.
A little bit, you know, even though we're all in the same office, we don't always get to know what's going on. And today they're going to be talking about their, their learning curves, what's going good, what's needs they have, and show us, what they've been doing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty good to hear about what the different communities have going on. I know, even though we have the same initiatives, we don't all go about them the same way. So It's going to be pretty cool to see.
All right.
All right. So without further ado. So today, joining us on the Totally Preventable podcast, we have the Newport Prevention Coalition Coordinator, Amy Lynch, and Tiverton Little Compton Coordinator, Brian Goff. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great.
Me too. Doing well.
All right.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, glad to be here. Hi, everybody.
So to start us off, why don't you each tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Amy Lynch, and I am a native Newporter, and I'm luckily able to give back to my community. Since meeting Rebecca Elwell, I was able to be part of the team, and my children attend the schools in Newport at Rogers, and getting the opportunity to help kids make better choices is something that I'm happy to get to do with everybody.
I'm Brian Goff. I am the coordinator for Tiverton Little Compton. I am not a native New Englander. I grew up in the Midwest and was smart enough at an early age to get out of there. Came out this way. I'm on my third career, I believe. I retired after about 30 years working in industry, and came into this role kind of unexpectedly after an early retirement. Got the opportunity to kind of look at it and say, hey, I can be creative and do good things. So jumped in, got my feet wet over the past year, and still have so much more to learn. So that's me.
So you're both fairly new, under a year, right? Ryan, you're still under a year. Yeah. So what do you think the most difficult part of running a coalition?
Certainly for me, it's been trying to rebuild interest in the coalition. I think over time, Tiverton and Little Compton both had tremendous programs going. But over the course of COVID, there was an impact, certainly an impact. People were not connected to the coalition as much. And it sort of went down from there. We also lost funding because the grant ran out that was funding all of our programs. So we're in the process of trying to rebuild, reconstitute, put a new coalition together for both Tiverton and Little Compton. That I'm hoping will get more interest in the community and in our schools, and hopefully we'll be able to pull people back in so that we can have a very active, collaborative group working together.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. I think putting our name out there and just really re-engaging and talking to the community about the issues really facing our community, and letting them know that it takes more than just one person to make changes, and definitely building the coalition, like Brian had mentioned. I think from there you can see changes really actually happen. So that has been tough, but it's a task we're willing to take on, right?
Right.
What kind of people are you looking for? Like if someone's listening and like, oh, I'm kind of interested, but they wouldn't want me.
Oh, we want you. You know, parents are wonderful to have on because they're seeing the interactions their kids are having with one another, and they're like our just like teachers, they're our boots on the ground. And I think they would be a great impact to our coalition. Um, just to name a few, the teachers and parents. How about you, Brian?
You know, we have a lot of different types of groups that we need to pull into the coalition, different segments of the community that we need to. But for me, the type of individual that we want to pull in, it hopefully kind of mirror the things that we've been talking about over the last several months and tie into things that I've thought my whole career. I've ended up in jobs that had this stigma around telling people no, right? I spent many years in HR, and people think of HR as the group that tells people what they can't do. I want people that can tell people how they can do things that are healthy for them, good for them, how to advance yourself. If that's their interest, if we get people that want to help, want to make sure that people are making good decisions, that's the type of individual we want. Somebody that has that mentality of, I'm going to tell people they can't do something. That doesn't help, right? That doesn't advance our cause. It doesn't make people make good decisions. So trying to get people that have a very realistic mindset around the issues that we deal with, and can get creative and can be good educators and get involved with all the different parts of the community.
What is the time commitment of being a coalition member?
I would like to say as little or as much as you want. It is sort of that way. We minimally want people to be involved monthly to kind of discuss what's happening in the community and come up with ideas. So that's a once a month type of commitment for a meeting. But outside of that, we'd like people to be involved a little bit more in going to those activities and programs that we build, right? So it's not just us putting that together, but we've got partners from the community that come along. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can spend that kind of time. But if you've got some time that you can participate, that's great. We'll take anything, right?
Absolutely.
Every little bit helps.
Now,
Right.
when I think of coalition, I think of work being done in all different ways, like a octopus with arms going everywhere. Are there specific initiatives that either both of your coalitions look to work with programs and services in, or do you have individual or separate programs that you both work on?
Yeah. Currently, one of the largest problems in Newport is children that are vaping in the middle school and high school. So having the opportunity to see if we can make some changes in the smoking, tobacco, even cannabis policy in the Newport school systems is something that I'm really trying very hard to work with the school committee on. We have a few meetings that have already taken place with two of the school committee members that are also part of their wellness committee. And the hope is that we can find a better solution for these kids to understand the risks associated with smoking and vaping and cannabis. And instead of suspending them and keeping them out of school, which absenteeism is a huge problem across the state, maybe we figure out a diversion plan that the kids are learning why this is not something they should put into their bodies, but still having the opportunity to be at school as well to get support on how to quit. So that has been something that's really important to me that I have taken on.
It's a fun thing about coalitions because each of the coalitions in different municipalities, we're dealing with very similar topics, but we address it in very specific ways for that community and what's happening in that community and what is needed. So the programs that Amy's working on it's great. I'm learning from what she's doing, but they may not apply exactly to what I need to do in Tiverton or Little Compton. But I can take that idea and blend it, put it with something else, and work on it, right? So if we look at our tobacco policies and things like that in Tiverton, I think they are meeting the needs. We still have certain issues, and we certainly need to develop more programs to help with that. But we don't need to start at the policy level. I think the policy is fairly solid, whereas Amy's working on adjusting policy to help drive program and actions. So I think it's fun. We meet with other coalition coordinators across the state. Next week, we're going to meet with coalition members from across the nation. So we get lots of ideas of different things that we can work on various topics. One that I'm focused on right now is looking at wellness, and we're doing that across Newport County. So we've gotten everybody involved with their ideas and putting together a program. So taking that and trying to work from grade 1 through grade 12 and develop a program that can be used throughout. I think it's fantastic. It's a nice way for us to get a very positive message out there about good decision making, about your entire life, your whole self. And that's something I'm personally interested in. So I get to add not only what's needed for the community, but things that I personally enjoy and like doing.
He's done a great job.
That has been an interesting project to be looking in on, because it really does show how the county works together. You guys as coordinators work together, but how each of your individual communities is so different in how you approach things. So it's been interesting. I know it's been a little frustrating maybe too in some cases.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be a good project if it wasn't. But I find that so interesting, the buy-in from different people in different communities.
Yeah, but you know, to Greg's question, we've got one program here. We've got a tool. We built a tool, and now we're putting that down into each of the municipalities, and each one is going to deploy that differently.
Correct.
And it'll be fun to see the impact. You know, is there a positive impact with one approach, or is there something we can do better in the next year? We'll learn a lot from that.
I know you're all doing the Rhode Island Student Survey. That's that's lined up for this spring. Would either of you want to tell the listeners about it and the importance?
So the student survey, which is done by Buddha, which is our behavioral health, has Rhode Island Education, Department of Education, sorry, has to approve it, and then it is brought into the schools between grades 6 through 12. And basically it is a list of questions. I believe it is takes about 30 to 35 minutes. And it's a list of questions that we're asking, well, not we, but the survey asks to the kids about everything from alcohol, smoking, vaping, cannabis, prescription drugs, mental health, bullying is in there, and now gambling is in there. So it's just trying to capture what we're seeing as issues within our communities. So it's a statewide survey. So there are, you know, cities and towns that do it everywhere. And from there, we're able to see really kind of, they can really break it down to even to the schools on what those issues are kids are facing right now. And then from there, our organization is able to collect that data and do try to help with the needs that the kids are facing, right? So Brian, you guys have that, you do the student survey over that way too, right?
Yeah, we actually, myself, I started last March. That was my first introduction to this work, and that was taking place, and we were not taking place, we were getting additional information. So it takes a while after the survey. And I was actually able to read through the data for the first time. Very eye-opening of things that are actually occurring out there. They give a lot of information about how youth are getting access to various substances, the frequency at which they are using any substances. And then you start, I was going through that and learning this. And then I spent the year kind of talking about this and preparing for the next round of it. And you hear some of the political side, the controversy behind the survey, that there's some communities that don't necessarily want to know that information, which is a little scary to me, that, you may want to bury your head in the sand, but it's there. Our students are using different substances in different ways, usually not to their betterment. So having some understanding of to what extent and how it's happening and what we might be able to do to prevent or amend that, I think is a fantastic tool. Looking forward to seeing what happens this year with it. A lot of people have given it a negative impression because they think that students may lie on it, right? They may exaggerate. I read some of the results. I don't think they're lying. When you're coming in around 30% of the student population that is using cannabis, I think that's probably pretty accurate. Given, when you're in the schools, you get to meet some of these students and you get a feel for it. And I don't think it's as much as being exaggerated. There might be some. I'm sure there are a couple of students that don't take it seriously. But in the reality, when you start looking at the data, it makes sense.
Absolutely. And I know from the 2022 survey, sadly, there wasn't as many participants in Newport. So my hope is to really encourage the participation in Newport more this time around so that we can capture that information. So hopefully we go to the the school committee to have ours approved next month. So my hope is that everybody will be on board and we can actually make this a positive thing. I know, like you said, Brian, it kind of has that negative feel to it, but it should be positive. We should encourage our kids to answer truthfully and know that in the end there's going to be help that comes from it.
I know we have a great evaluator that
Yes.
screens and cleans the data too. So if there is a student that does lie, the series of questions that are looked at, they can determine if there's some opposite answers or some, incorrect, and they just eliminate that whole survey. So as soon as they pick up someone has said they use marijuana here and they don't use it here, or something contradicts itself, they just get rid of all that. So
that's good to hear. I've never seen all the questions. I don't know if any of you have. But it's good to know that those are baked in like a good survey should be.
Right.
I think Amy has memorized.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll forward those to you, Brian. I think also so the last time that the student survey was done, marijuana, cannabis was not legal in Rhode Island. So now that it is, this survey is gonna definitely present different from the last one. So it really is going to be quite interesting to see. Just to point out some positives, the last survey I saw with Newport, it did show that smoking cigarettes had gone down, right? But with that, vaping had gone up. Some of the positives looking at the survey was that smoking cigarettes had gone down in Newport in the 2022 survey, but it also where the cigarettes smoking had gone down, the vaping had gone up. So it is great that the kids are not smoking cigarettes, but we do have to look at why they are choosing vaping, right? So it is a really positive survey to look at.
I'll be curious. I'm not sure if the survey is updated to look at other ways of nicotine now getting into the body. Just reading recently about
Right.
Zen, right?
Right.
The Zen pouches that are essentially
Making them.
just nicotine that you can shove under your lip. You're not getting the tobacco, but you are getting the high of the nicotine and what impact that has on younger people, specifically, even older people putting that under the tongue, the very cancer risk, everything else. It seems like we keep finding the new thing each time.
Absolutely.
And the youth are still chasing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That new
Mm-hmm.
up, that new high, whatever it might be.
Right.
Are we keeping constant updated and figuring out everything that we need to know?
Right.
Big
You
challenge.
You brought up an interesting point mentioning how, it's dangerous for adults too. And while we do care about adults, I think we meet with some opposition sometimes when we're talking about the risks and dangers around some substances, is we mainly are concerned about youth, or often our concerns are around youth use. I mean, we are concerned about adults too, but it's
Right.
important to realize that when we're talking about the dangers of nicotine in the schools, we're worried about our youth. We're not coming
Yeah.
after 22 plus, 21 plus people. And
The
Right.
message changes a bit from youth when we get into the adult population. With youth, we're really focusing a lot on the prevention message, not starting,
Right.
because the impact is so much greater, right? When we move into the adult population, we talk more about harm reduction, trying to reduce out some of the usage, or making sure that if you are using substances, you're using them in a way that hopefully won't kill you immediately. Some things may kill you with exposure over time. So it's a difficult little tap dance you do, moving from youth to older population and making sure that your message is appropriate for them and acceptable.
Now, just to go back a little, these surveys, these are anonymous, or
Yes, they are. So the kids now, they used to have them on paper years ago, but now the kids are able to do it just like on their Chromebooks, like they're doing work in school. And it is anonymous. And there is a proctor, a teacher, who just doesn't look over their shoulder to see what they're answering. They're basically making sure that students are not on a different website, and that the hope is that we are getting these kids to participate. So, but it is so much easier for them to capture all the information because it is now online. So, yes.
And it goes from grade 7 to 12, I believe.
we've gotten the school aspect, and you told us about some of the school directives and school initiatives that you are working on. What about within the community? Are the coalitions involved in the community? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think both of us and
Mhm.
other coalition coordinators that we've talked to, they do spend quite a bit of time out in the community. I've done everything from working at a health fair at the senior center to Child Safety Day in Tiverton, participating in our local farmers market just to get information out there and to be visible in the community, working with our town councils, trying to present to them, be in front of them as much as we can, and working with local police department on initiatives there, our drug take back days. So yeah, we're active out in the community quite a bit. That's building over time.
Absolutely. Yeah, because again, just to kind of go back to it, we need to know what everybody in the community is doing, and having them participate with us and getting to know who we are and what our mission is so important. So getting a chance to be in the community, I think, is no offense to my coworkers, but that's my favorite part, right? Like is going out and seeing the people. So you know, I've been blessed because I am doing it in the place where I grew up. So I'm able to say a little bit more to a few more people than, you know, maybe Brian has the opportunity to, because I went to school with all these
Yep.
parents that are within my community. So and I'm able to pull them in and hope that they will be involved, you know, in the coalition or in whatever programs we're trying to initiate. So yeah, and you know, for Newport, I feel very blessed that we have Conexión Latina Newport, and getting the opportunity to work with people that I don't speak Spanish, but you know what? The ladies at Conexión Latina do, and they know that there is a need within their community as well. So whatever I'm able to do for them and get it translated in Spanish, I'll do it. So for example, we have Hidden in Plain Sight going to be taking place at Conexión Latina in February. And Hidden in Plain Sight is one of Polly's babies. And it's a mock teenager's bedroom, and it highlights all the different areas in which kids are able to hide anything from cigarettes, alcohol, pot, cannabis, sorry, and pills, let's see, what else, laxatives, there are a whole array of things. So I'm thrilled that Conexión Latina Newport is giving us the opportunity to come in and work with them to bring our information to their community. It's super important to be able to work with everybody in the community. So yeah.
The other nice part is because we are connected to Newport County Prevention Coalition, we do work together on occasion. Last summer we were at Gay Pride together out there in Newport. That was fantastic. I know Amy was working with people experiencing homelessness this past week. So she's out in the community doing things with that population. So we get involved. We get not involved just in the town we're in. We try to spread that a little bit, even though our focus is our specific municipalities. We get that opportunity to get involved in other things throughout the county.
I think that's important for people to know, because we often get labeled like the say no to drugs people.
Yep.
Right.
Where people end their thoughts of us, you know, we're so
right. I mean, our ultimate goal is to be totally preventable, right? But
absolutely,
you know, we just want to spread the message to, you know, make it all work.
With all of your community work, do you ever find yourself struggling to get into any particular communities or any particular audiences?
Definitely. Again, we've talked a little bit about the stigma of the type of work we do that kind of keeps us out of some places. We just have to keep pushing in, doing little bits as best we can, make ourselves available. The topics keep coming up in the varied communities. So if we're seen as a provider of some type of resource, information, service, whatever it may be, if we're there and we continue to be there, we'll get into those populations where we struggle a bit right now. Right. So
I think you know, one of the, and I can just say it, it is hard to get into some of the schools, and sometimes it's not for a lack of trying or lack of wanting us there. It's lack of time. You know, like sometimes there's just not enough time in the day for stuff to happen within the schools, and administration, teachers, they all have to make hard decisions on what do we say yes to and what do we say no to. So I think that's where it's a hard, you know, I don't want to say it's a hard sell, but that's where some of that struggle is. It's not necessarily they don't want us there. It's just, how do we fit them in, so, yeah, so that is something
We have some
keep
others.
working.
There was one that has been a little frustrating. It's not even in Tiverton, but we've been working together to try to get into the Newport Folk Festival,
Yeah.
to have a presence there. So we can work with some of the stuff that we call harm reduction, get information out there, have Narcan available, on-site training available for people who want to know how to use Narcan in the event they need it, right? We look at it that there's stuff that goes on in these events that is totally preventable, right? We can be a service. We can be out there in the community. We're not getting that message into that group well enough, or any of the festival group, right? We want them to see us as a partner to make sure that things work really well, and just have information for people. We're struggling. We haven't gotten that success yet. I think there, again, the stigma, not wanting that message attached to a very happy day where music is playing. Well, it's a very happy day, but there's some things that could go wrong.
Correct.
Right.
Even inadvertently, like I believe older people also attend the folk festival. Someone could have gotten and taken their medicine twice. Someone,
Right.
could have some other health risks, and their medicine is acting adversely to what's affecting them. Kids could get into something. There's tons of, I'm going to say, other reasons than all the stigmatizing reasons that people first go to.
Right.
I hear this a lot in our trainings is instead of calling people out, we should be calling people in. I think that's a new catchphrase. But I think that is the hard part, is calling people in this circle, because people have their barriers up about what prevention means to them, and we need to call them in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I do think sometimes you got to call them out.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a good call out.
Right. Well, I think even with talking about the Newport Folk Festival, you think about, like, we'll just go to the social norms, right? So what is expected at the folk festival or the jazz festival? And I mean, they have a beer garden. So, like, the social norm is it's okay to do X, Y, and Z. But it's great to have these options, to have somebody who can talk about prevention. So it doesn't have to happen. You can just go and enjoy music.
Yeah. I'll use another example of struggling, trying to get in. We've got a few different communities within Tiverton where we know that we would have a positive impact, whether it's through our mental health, first aid training for varied groups, whatever it might be. One of those communities down at Sandy Woods has been very welcoming. They bringing anything we want in-house, accepting us. However, we've got another community very similar in makeup at the Mill Street apartments. We're not getting much success at trying to pull them in. And it could be a communication issue. It could be a time issue. It could be I don't know. We need to pull them in and maybe partner with Sandy Woods and try to get those groups together, because we've got great resources we could provide in that part of the community there. It's just getting that access, trying to figure out how to make it work.
Sometimes your job is part detective too, because sometimes people just say no. You have to figure out why they're saying no, because we can be very accommodating if it is time, whatever. And a lot of people don't want to maybe burden us, or and are just like, oh no, I can't do, I can't do that. When if they shared what the barrier was, we might be able to help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What else do you guys want everyone to know about the coalitions?
We're fun people.
Greg is with us.
We really are.
I mean, in the office.
Amy's more fun than I am, but
no, not at all. I could talk about the fact that I'm trying to really get some support. Who knows, maybe there's other places other than in Newport, but really to bring teen mental health first aid to our island. I think obviously mental health for youth is we're in a crisis. There's very little resources here on the island. Rhode Island Kids Count just recently had done some work with Newport. They were funded to work with the Van Buren Foundation to look at what our mental health resources were. And the kids are struggling. And, you know, I think being that I'm a parent, I know kids listen to kids, right? So this is how they think they know everything, right? So, you know, let's give them some information so that they can talk to one another about it's okay to not be okay, right? So that is something that I'm trying to work with Bridget Manning, who's part of our No Wrong Door, to see if we can find a youth serving organization that would want to partner with us to start that off here on the island, because I think it's just so important for the kids to get trained in how to speak with one another about mental health situations. So that's definitely something that, you know, would be great to have on this island, because our kids really care about each other, you know? So let's just give them the tools to help one another, you know? So that is something that is near and dear to my heart. So, yeah.
Nice.
You're looking for an actual teen mental health first aid, because I know that there's another teen mental health first aid where it's facilitated to adults who work with teens, but you're looking
Correct.
it to be facilitated.
That is youth mental health first aid for the adults working with children. So and we have that here, so anybody can get in touch with Bridget Manning to try to start a training for that, or you can get in touch with me and I'll connect you. But the teen mental health first aid is like teens training one another on how to work with each other on mental health stuff. So and knowing signs of, you know, distress, what kids should do, you know, going to a trusted adult, and when to have these conversations. So I just think that we could just do better, you know. So that's the hope, is that, and it's very interesting, because in order to be able to have that, we can't just sign up and get Bridget trained. They have to work with a youth serving or a school and train 10% of the staff that work there to do this, so that it can go, it's just like a little trickle effect, so that everybody can keep doing it. So it would be really wonderful. So although it's not drugs, alcohol, or what have you, I still, you know, this is Brian, like, talking about how still part of the I don't know, like, wrap around for coalition. Our, you know, we try to do it all together. So, yeah.
To Amy's point, we can do better, but I also think we can do more.
Yeah.
If we get some help, if we get some people involved in the coalitions, right? I look at all the varied opportunities. I love the idea of connecting with youth through sports. In Tiverton, we have a great new building that's up, the Longplex. They're doing fantastic things there. There's a lot of activities, not just Tiverton, but it's people from all over the state that are coming in there. Great opportunity to do things like mental health for children, right?
Right.
Of all the people that are there bringing their kids in for sports activities, pull them in and do something else with them there to help them help their kids. There's so much more we could do. We've got a fantastic rec committee in Tiverton. They do programming throughout the year. But they do Little League sports. Okay, it's another opportunity there that we could be doing different types of mental health training for coaches. We could do Narcan training for anybody that is out there on the fields, right? So there's so many different things we can do in any of the communities. Little
Right.
Compton has great opportunity for different types of trainings through the community center there, through the churches there. It's just finding the time to do it, right?
Right.
I only have so many hours in my day,
Right.
and I'm a part-time guy. So
Right.
we'd love to have some assistance within the coalition to do
And
more,
right.
do
And
better.
I
Definitely do
think
more.
good point, Brian, because I think a lot of people feel like they don't have time to do it, right?
Yep,
Because whether something's 2 hours, 6 hours, it's like, well, how am I going to fit that in? How am I fitting that in? But I think when it comes to um, our kids, we always want to do for them, right? So um,
yeah,
we have to figure out where we're where we can make changes, switch things out. Can, instead of doing this, maybe I go to a Narcan training. Maybe instead of this, I do a safe homes training, or maybe spend 6 hours with the Bridgets and do a mental health first aid training. So
right.
I know it sounds daunting, but it's worth it in the long run, right? So
Yeah, to your point, a lot of people I talk to, I feel like such a slacker because I realize how much they do, right?
hmm
If they've got kids or whatever, they're involved in the community, they're volunteering here and they're doing
yeah,
this, that, and the other. And I get it. And we're asking for more. But
absolutely.
there's some other people like me that might be on the couch a little bit more than they should be. So, you know, take an hour, spend an
Right.
hour a month with us, spend a couple.
hmm
That'd be good.
That's right. hmm
If there are people listening who want to spend an hour, I was gonna say on the couch with you, but
Wow.
no. Well,
That's a different coalition.
A lot of the meetings are virtual, so you could
We
spend.
could
Yeah.
be on your couch. That's right.
Good.
Do you mind sharing your email so people could reach out and find out what opportunities are out there for them?
Sure. Mine's pretty easy. I'm Tiverton at rhodeislandprevention.org. I can also be
Yeah.
reached at Little Compton at rhodeislandprevention.org.
And I just have one email, which is newport@riprevention.org. Yes.
It was great having you both. Great hearing what's going on in your communities. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our
Mhm.
pleasure. Thank you.
Hope to see you around.
Oh, yeah.
Around the office, down the door.
Bye.
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 Thank you.